one and only Aleyda Solis, who has been traveling nonstop and kind enough to join us here today to talk about a very important topic. I think that is on all of our minds right now, that changes probably every day, Aleyda. But that is the state of search for e-commerce. And it has been a little bit chaotic lately, but she is here to tell us all about what's going on, what we need to know, and how to prepare for holiday 2026. So Aleyda, she is the founder and an AI search optimization consultant at Aranti, who has been doing a lot of work in this area. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn, you absolutely should, almost every day, if not a couple times a day. I think I learned something new from what she's doing, as well as her newsletter, which is fantastic. SEO FOMO, which again is like my go-to read for all the SEO stuff that I'm learning about in my role here at Optiversal. And I'm sure all the retailers out there would love to know it as well. So Aleyda, I'll pass it over to you to do a quick intro and we'll get going.
Thank you very much, Shell. It's wonderful to be able to share with the audience, and yes, I'm very looking forward to share and go through the major shift that we see, in particular in e-commerce, with SEO, and then also AI search, and the biggest importance and role that and that is taken within the industry. Allow me to share my screen now to go to do the presentation, and you will see that I have a lot of insights and resources in the presentation. I will go through, and I will need to pass by some of the slides very quickly, but don't worry, you'll receive a link so you can download the deck later on with all of the resources and insights. So hopefully this will generate and spark a little bit of more analysis and actions, right? That is my purpose with the presentation. So let's go through what's moving the needle in e-commerce, SEO, and AI search, and how these align and where it doesn't, right? For you to prioritize accordingly in order to see a positive ROI in e-commerce search, organic search. So here's, let's say, the state of the e-commerce SERPs, and it has been a while that we have seen this shift, right? Powered by product packs, AI overviews, and ads above the fold. That is a reality not only for the broader product-related terms, commercial terms, but also for the long tail, very granular, that even in the past we considered to be informational, but not anymore. To be data-driven, right? Like we can see this not only like anecdotally, visualizing the search results, but also I've been gathering data of the top product-related queries across different verticals of my clients with SimilarWeb to see the shift of search features, the search feature composition of the top jeans queries, headphones queries, laptop queries, jewelry queries, and so on. And we can see how it has been evolving from showcasing 5 AI overviews in a set of 5K top keywords to more than 1/5 of them showing AI overviews. And the same not only with AI overviews, we have been very focused with AI overviews, but also with product packs and paid ads and product ads at the same time, right? So of course the tracking and attracting the traffic has been challenging. People are engaging more and more within the SERPs, and Google has been making changes for this to happen. And at the end of the day, this is very connected with the way that they make money, their business model at the end of the day, right? And that's today's biggest search challenge, like visibility, attribution, and trust as AI keeps the clicks, right? The reality is that at the same time, top retailers still get a fraction of their traffic from AI platforms versus traditional search engines. So we can see how for major retailers, but that's the case also across every single vertical, right? Like the organic search might represent, like still today, like more than 40%, 30%, and so on of the traffic that a website attracts versus the 0.50% or 1%. The maximum that I have seen has been 2-3% from AI traffic, right? I did a survey a few months ago in e-commerce, within e-commerce, and I was told that most of the online store get under 5% of the revenue beyond traffic, right? But maybe because we say, okay, maybe it's the traffic. We know that AI traffic doesn't tell the whole story. I will sharing more about that and doesn't show the full impact of AI platforms. However, beyond that, the revenue that can be tracked, again, right now, under 5% of it is coming from AI platform versus more than 40% from traditional search. However, this is the thing, right? Like our measurement models right now are broken. We know that purchasing decisions are made in AI answers. However, users are just converting elsewhere as well. This data from SimilarWeb that they shared a couple of weeks ago, they did this research with Rand Fishkin, where they track the behavior of users searching in AI platforms during a week to identify if the answers that they got, the brands that were recommended in AI search, ended up influencing what they did next, what they searched next, and when they ended up engaging and buying from. And it did, right? Like it was shown that they ended up not necessarily clicking as much directly within the AI answer to the brands, because at the end of the day, that relies a lot on the way that the brand is showcased, if it is with a link showcasing the AI answer very prominently, right, or not. However, what they did do a lot, much more, as you can see, were to search for the brand directly in Google, in traditional search. So the brands that were recommended in AI were searched later on in Google, and this is how they ended up going to the site, right? So we can see how AI search act as a decision engine, also not only as a performance channel anymore, but also the branding one, recommending directly brands, and transactions also are moving directly with an AI platform with the e-commerce integrations that are now already happening, as we can see in AI mode with a few retailers as well. So with the new universal cart and AI mode checkout integration, including agentic features that are going to happen more and more, users, the reality is they won't even need to leave Google to buy. So we also cannot expect to continue using traffic as a directionally helpful KPI anymore to assess success in AI answers, right? So even if Google hasn't flipped the AI mode switch, which I saw a lot of people being very happy about after Google I/O a couple of months ago, but the reality is that they announced something similar. It's like, no, they are not flipping the coin directly. They need to do this gradually, but what they announced was this AI assisted journey that, depending on the intent of the user, they will showcase more or less AI driven search results with an intelligent, what they call an intelligent box answer, right? And in the recently shared AI mode trends usage that were shared again a couple of months ago by Google, it is shown how people are engaging more using it clearly for shopping decisions, right? Like top shopping topics where people ask follow-up questions. So they keep engaging with an AI mode: electronics, books, movies, music, apparel, health, and beauty. So we can see that the impact in the decision making, the purchasing journey, not only to do things or for informational purposes, and all of this end up happening and causing that only 1/3 of Google searches end up with a click. Again, this is part of the research that Rand released along with SimilarWeb, and I can definitely see this becoming lower and lower as well because of a lot of the behavior that we're seeing. And you might be wondering, in a case, if traffic is already low and it will continue to decrease as an outcome, even if we're doing great from an optimization standpoint, it's like, does this mean that SEO is not as relevant anymore? It's very difficult to gauge the impact, so it's not worthy. And no, that is the wrong read. I understand that there are a lot of comments, especially over social media, but the reality is that LLM answers rely on grounding. They need to connect with a search index when current factual information, especially product information, is needed, meaning that SEO is vital for it. In fact, in the case of e-commerce in particular, with all of this agentic commerce, UGC integration, and so on, following e-commerce SEO best practices is fundamental. Like the configuration, optimization, inclusion in the merchant center, Merchant trust becomes a hard requirement, not a soft signal. Product structure data becomes fundamental. The product feeds are also fundamental as well. The consistent optimization along with what the PDP said, along with what the product feeds and structured data says is fundamental as well. So yes, it's still the base, the pillar of it all. However, it's also important to understand the shifts as well, too, on top of it, in order to shift also those things that are needed in our day-to-day to be able to measure well what is working or not, and to deliver value, and to ensure that we are able to communicate it well with decision makers, right? Something that I asked about additionally a couple of weeks ago, because there has been this debate happening, right? Like what should it be called? GEO, AIO, LMO? Is still just SEO? Because yeah, we see that the pillars still there, is the base of everything, but with a few nuances and new interface that we need to take into account as well. A new outcome of the behavior, a new influence of branding, right? But the reality is that that is not necessarily the most important question. The most important question is like, who owns it? Who's in charge? Who's leading the way? Who's and putting into action, right? And interesting enough, 95% of those who answered to my poll mentioned that it was whether the SEO team or an AI search team with SEOs leading the way in AI search optimization, which is reasonable because of the experience that SEOs have with information retrieval and optimizing for search as a discovery layer, right? As a marketing channel in general, independently of the platform that is used. So yes, good SEO is good geo, but the real question is, the most important question is it enough? What about those changes in behavior, traffic loss, and so on? How do we need to account for them and take them into account to continue driving growth and communicating effectively, right? And here's how to move the needle and taking this into account, right? So the first thing is that we need to stop tracking rankings, direct AI traffic, and conversions as the full thing, and start measuring AI presence, readiness, and business impact broadly, right? And to better connect the dots among them. The AI traffic and revenue shown in your analytics is the floor, not the ceiling. That is like the direct impact that we can see right now. We need to measure AI search across 3 layers instead. Presence, this is the visibility. Are you actually appearing in AI answers, in those that actually matter? Readiness is, are you structurally prepared, optimized to be surfaced? And the business impact. Are visibility and readiness translating into value? So you can see that these 3 are connected together, and your presence and readiness should be shown to be influencing actually your business at the end of the day. And this like final goal of this all, right? A positive ROI. We need to start by monitoring AI presence. Is the brand shown in the answers that actually matter? And how is it being represented when it does? So prompt coverage, where are we showing up when we need to? Recommendation rate, are we being endorsed or just included? Link citation rate, is the visibility capable of driving actual visits or purchases? Or competitive win rate, are we winning the shortlist when users compare options with other players, right? Representation accuracy, are we being understood properly or misrepresented? And for e-commerce, we can and we should highlight, for example, the link citation rate, because the importance at a bottom of funnel transactional side of things, and the comparative win rate, because from a decision-making perspective, this is something very common that e-com users end up doing. And what it is fundamental here, I understand that this is not the most, let's say, sexy part of the business, but is fundamental. We need to ensure to track a good representation of prompts that are being searched through the customer journey for product lines, for each product lines and personas. It needs to be representative. We cannot just rely on importing the prompts that are just keywords that are conversational all of a sudden. Right? We extrapolate them and that's it. That is why I've created a guide also with a workbook to help you to generate this, taking many data sources into account, many of them free. For example, with my master tools already providing you some prompts tools, like for example, SimilarWeb again and SEMrush are already given. some samples of them, so to better understand this. And we need to measure the AI presence using this minimum KPIs for key questions, like, again, prompt coverage, are we showing up where we need to? Recommendation rate, are we being endorsed or just included? Link citation rate, is this visibility capable of driving visits or purchases? Comparative win rate, are we winning the shortlist when users compare options? Representation accuracy, are we being understood? Why? Because each one of this should help you focus your AI optimization efforts. So prompt coverage shows whether the brand appears at all. Low values point to visibility or distribution gaps. Recommendation rates show whether the brand is actively endorsed. Low values often point to trust, collaboration, or differentiation gaps. Link citation rate shows traffic opportunity, not just awareness. Low values often point to extractability or page structure gaps in your optimization. The same with a comparative win rate, shows whether the brand is framed as the stronger option. Low values often point to positioning or proof gaps. So as you can see, each one of these visibility challenges are later explained with optimization gaps that you need to optimize accordingly, right? So it's like this, and then it helps to actually audit your visibility accordingly, to prioritize what to assess, what to validate in terms of the optimization. So based on what you see in your visibility here, you should be able to go and assess and measure these 10 key AI readiness characteristic by asking these key questions. It's like accessibility, usefulness, recognition, being consistent, being corroborated, credible, differentiated, fresh, transactable. And in order to assess all of these characteristics, I have, again, a Google Sheet here that you can easily use in order to make this happen, and to accelerate the process and to understand where you are in terms of optimization, tying it with your visibility as well. And once that you have your AI presence and readiness, it's the time to move forward with the next step, which is the business impact. How this translate at the moment? What big is the gap or the opportunity or the challenges that you have in terms of visibility and optimization, and how are this impacting the business that you are attracting from them? So for this, we have the observe layer of metrics, the proxy, own and third party, and the model layer. The observe layers are those that you can track directly from platform passing and refer, or UTM, highest confidence, lowest coverage. Your AI refer sessions, for example, the conversion rate, the revenue per AI visit, and so on. The proxy ones, like the directional signals from your own analytics or tools that sample AI traffic across the web. Medium to medium-low confidence, but broader coverage to better understand everything. Branded search lift, demand for pages known to be surfacing AI answers as well, survey-based discovery, and the model ones, the estimates produced by applying assumptions to observe some proxy data. Lowest confidence in this case used for planning but never for proof, right? Influence pipeline, influence revenue, incrementality estimates, and so on. And each metric layer answer a question to help you assess your AI search business impact, right? How many users clicked and converted from an AI answer? Is there evidence users are seeing us in AI answers even when they don't click, right? How does our AI presence compared to competitors, and which prompts are driving AI traffic? If we assume X% of branded search lift is AI attributable, what is the implied pipeline, and so on, right? So you can see that each one of these business KPIs will help assess your AI presence and readiness impact later on. And tying all of this is what drives an understanding and action, right? I have a full guide going through each one of these, giving examples. So, for example, one of the things that I highly recommend you to here is to create a survey at the very end of the customer journey, to ask the customer is like, oh, look, what did you find about those? What made you to do this purchase with us, or to convert with us? And to track that answer and compare the share of those answers that mention AI platforms as the source, and see what analytics is showing for the same users instead, to identify the gap. And if 10% of direct traffic end up being consistently attributed or mentioned by users, that they are actually coming from AI platforms, not direct, really, as analytics is showing, like, it's a percentage that you can apply to AI platforms instead of being direct users, right? I've also added a 3-layer AI search diagnostic and measurement workbook here in the guide, so you can apply all of this thinking and steps in order to better assess. And the idea here is that you have a better assessment and connection between your visibility, your optimization, and the business impact of it. Then another important action to take is create content for topical completeness rather than keyword targeting for products. So AI cites pages that resolve buyers' uncertainty, not just PDPs, PLPs, where AI traffic goes. As many people think, like, I am getting only AI traffic at the bottom of the funnel type of pages, only the PDPs. Well, of course, because most of the journey happens now within the SERPs or within the AI platforms, but that doesn't mean that citations are not coming from informational content or full funnel pages, right? So buyer uncertainty drives the citation mix. The right evidence layer depends on what buyers are uncertain about, and that can change based on the vertical in e-commerce, right? So beauty and skincare maps, the PDP, beauty education, how-to guides, community beauty media and reviews, fashion and apparel, size guides, fit and style guides, return shipping pages, and so on. So each one of them, you will see that I did an analysis and research here in this guide, will be different. But it's important to be aware that we cannot dismiss informational content just because most of the air traffic are going to whether the PDP or landing the homepage, right? We need to understand that uncertainty will help to identify which pages or data fields need to be improved or created. Citation sources can change a lot in each e-com vertical depending on the buyer behavior as well. So it's important to establish an own brand topical authority targeting the full customer purchase journey with your content, right? We need to replace this keyword mapping thinking with full product constraint matrices that align with the decision reasoning and constraint matching performed by AI platforms. So rather than targeting best running shoes in 2026 with a guide, because it's informational content and will better connect with that intent, just because of how query funnel works and how AI generates queries to try to identify elements or contents areas to grab in order to provide a comprehensive answer to the user. This might be coming from PDPs, from guides, from the homepage, from PLPs, and so on. And what it is critical here is to rather think on the page side, is to think on the characteristics and the values and the constraints that we need to target. So think more about jobs to be done against constraints. So what are the characteristics that marathon shoes should comply with, like cushion, price, terrain, durability, foot type, right? And these are the things that we need to write about. Run an AI presence benchmark to identify topic gaps and opportunities versus competitors. Again, I use tools like SimilarWeb here or SEMrush. You can use some, or any AI tracker that you use should ideally allow you to do this, to identify where your competitors are getting citations that you are not yet, in order to identify these patterns and to create the content on page or off page that will help you to fulfill this need. You need to build informational content that fits these decisions, right? And the reality is that a lot of it is informational, needed for topical authority and getting cited. I understand that it's tricky, but these were personalization really comes from covering multiple intents across the customer journey. This is also the type of content with higher chances to survive Google's zero-click era, the ones that is comprehensive, that actually help users to make these decisions at the end of the day and fulfill their needs in this more in-depth way. Also applicable to e-commerce. Take a look at the top click pages in search for the most popular headphones queries here as well. So you can integrate also informational content to support your customer journey and sales. There are ways to, a lot of things that this is content that is wasted later on, that it doesn't support sales. It should support sales if done strategically, as REI does with their guides, integrating them well later on in their listings, commercial listings. And you can use certain type of newer tools like YK is an AI search optimization tool that identify your site topic gaps versus your competitors for AI platforms, and using good old EAT principles, expertise, experience, authoritativeness, trustworthiness principles for easy to cite structure, accurate, fresh, authoritative content. That is the one that AI platforms like to refer to and to cite as well. Ensure your content can be easily extracted. So these are technical SEO principles. Your content cannot rely on JavaScript. If we understood that Google could render JavaScript with certain challenges at scale, that is not an option with AI platforms, unfortunately, as has been shown again in the last few weeks with newer validations, newer tests and research. Schema is fundamental for shopping and should rely on client-side render JavaScript as well. It should be consistent all the time with your product feeds. And there are tools like Lippy that to validate your site tech optimization for AI systems as well. Has an MCP, has also a free Chrome extension if you want to start using it and assess it in order to do this very easily, much more easily for your own e-commerce as well. And you need to start treating your product fees and merchant centers presence as your canonical product truth rather than a secondary source of information. And if you haven't yet started to prepare for agentic commerce, now is the time to start making your journey agentic ready. And we have already some guidelines sharing web devs here. And as you can see, it has to do a lot with front-end development best practices at the end of the day. A good share of e-commerce SEOs will prioritize these content and technical areas this year. Again, these were some of the answers that I got in the survey that at least. And last but not least, optimize for brand authority and trust as a ranking gauge, right? AI search visibility for e-commerce is an off-site corroboration problem with an on-site quality floor. Most of the citations are coming off page not from the brand itself, right? So brand recognition should align. Here's the offsite citation layer that recurs across these 5 analyzed commerce verticals that I did, like a lot of YouTube, a lot of Reddit, a lot of Walmart, Etsy, Facebook, Instagram, Wikipedia, TikTok, Pinterest. So having presence in social UGC platforms is fundamental. Growing your third-party brand authority is a must now. Through link building, community management, digital PR. It's now also critical that brand mentions and backlinks are also featuring positive sentiments connected with how you want to portray your brand online with your brand positioning. So you need to identify sites consistently used as a citation source for your track product topics versus your top competitors. Where do they have presence that you don't? What's the sentiment and accuracy of your brand mentions? Where are they coming from? Do you have presence there? There are tools like Boozabout that you can use to assess your social presence at scale for your brand and competitors for opportunities. If you need inspiration also for PR campaigns that actually work and get citations, you can take a look at trending PR campaigns under Finchling. That is a tool, digital PR tool that I have confounded as well. And the tool scans the news cycles to give you relevant PR campaigns ideas for a personalized basis. If you want to try it, also it's great for this purpose as well. There are tools like Journal Finder to easily identify publications and journalists to reach for coverage as well, in case you don't have yet established these resources internally. But you cannot work in a silo anymore. Alignment with PR and community management is critical. And again, these citation and brand building activities are among the top optimization shifts and expected actions for e-commerce this year. And you'll need to expand SEO efforts based on this AI shift and your own optimization content. So if you have a very sophisticated, mature SEO process that you have had in the last 10 years, very likely you don't need to do that much, but maybe you have had a lot of bottlenecks, or if you started not so long ago, and if that's the case, you might need to do a little bit more depending on all of the shifts that we have mentioned. What is important is to ask questions to prioritize your AI search optimization actions based on impact and effort, because at the end of the day, what you want is a positive ROI. So far, e-commerce organic search winners are also Gen AI traffic winners, by the way. So there's a high consistency here on those bigger brands, established brands that follow certain type of principles and guidelines to be recognized as good presence to refer to and to win, because they provide actual answers or to fulfill the needs of e-com users at the end of the day. So as you can see, with AI search, commerce SEO shift from ranking pages to enabling transactions at the end of the day, we need to remember that we're just starting to. We still have little data, and we need to leave space for experimentation and to adapt to shift. So this not set in stone, is shifting all the time. It's a must to keep up because of this with the latest AI search updates. I have a couple of resources, free resources for you to take a look at, learningaisearch.com and SEO FOMO, the weekly newsletter that has a latest AI search insights and update section. And what you need to think is that we're in the e-commerce SEO and AI search hybrid era, and need to keep strengthening what works while preparing for the future as well. So fun times as well to develop our skills and to drive value at the end of the day. This why we are experts in this area, right? We need to be able to identify opportunities independently of the shifts. And the last thought that I want to leave you with is long life e-commerce SEO, because at the end of the day, us as optimizers in e-commerce, we need to optimize in the platform, in the layer where users are buying, right? AI search, AMO, ChatGPT, TikTok, YouTube, Baidu, whatever platform is used, right? And where our audience is. So it's important to see our work in SEO and e-commerce accordingly, rather than focusing and obsessing on particular layer or a particular way of thinking or structure in the SERPs, because things are changing all the time, shifting, and if we don't act quickly, well, there are opportunities that we might unfortunately leave out, and that is not something that we want to do, of course. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and hopefully I should be able to answer a few questions before finishing. Looking forward to that.
Oh my gosh, so much information. I feel like I'm like soaking it all in, but some of the things that you're talking about, I think are so true. Things like, the product feeds and like long live SEO. I agree. We're saying all these names, or, you hear like you need to write for AI separate than humans, when it's really the same thing. Like you're saying, like there's all these piece parts to think about, and some really great, I would say, resources as well. We did get a couple questions in the chat. The first one was, if an ecom team could only prioritize one or two things this quarter to improve AI visibility, what would they be?
Well, the first thing that I will ensure is the base, that you don't, which happens in a lot of e-commerce site, that you don't over rely on JavaScript, right? As you saw, and you will see in the latest tests and validations that were done by Andrea Parr, an SEO friend, a couple of months ago. None of the major, you'll think that even Gemini, because it's Google own, no. They don't render JavaScript. I imagine because of the cost. It's very costly to do so. So a lot of e-commerce still rely today on JavaScript for reviews, for Q&As, for FAQs, because many of these are coming from third-party systems. So it's important that you make sure that these are shown in the raw HTML, and if not, to start identifying solutions like pre-rendering them, right? There are few also platforms and solutions that offer this, to make sure that AI systems see them. So they see your actual content. So that is the base. That is one thing. Then after that, what I will take a look is like for all of the prompts that you actually care about, the ones that are really representative. And again, a lot of people think of thousands of prompts that are also very costly to track. I will say start with, if you go and take a look at the workbook that I recommend, like minimum viable prompts, the core 10 prompts for each of one of your product lines for each customer journey. And you end up having like, 60, 70 prompts for each platform to track and focus on at the beginning. Take a look at the patterns of the type of content that they are citing, and if you already have presence there or not. And if you don't have presence, which are your competitors are and how they are getting it, because you will there be able to prioritize for those prompts and questions and answers that matter. What is the type of content that you need to start creating on your site, very likely, where the gap is coming, and if it is a matter of page citations like publications, fashion publications, or Reddit or YouTube, well, maybe you need to enhance or to align accordingly your social media or community management work or influencer management program accordingly, because a lot of the visibility is coming from this third party. This shouldn't be seen as one-trick ponies, or as, Aleyda told us to create presence in Reddit, but no, this should be aligned with your strategical roadmap, of course, to make sure that it actually compounds and makes sense and connects with your broader digital marketing initiatives too.
Yeah, I think that's like very important to think about too, because I'll hear, just add FAQs or lms.txt, and you're like, it's a strategy. It's not, like you said, there's too many hype things that you got. Yeah.
The problem with that is that you might end up like getting incentivized to invest in something that won't be true in a year. So an example, right? Right now, a lot of the citations are coming from Reddit. But if also these AI systems will become more sophisticated and smarter. So because you can see a low-hanging fruit opportunity in there, because every thread that is somewhat relevant will end up getting cited. Well, that sounds like a weakness, right? And if it is too manipulated, the AI system, the systems, at the end of the day, they don't like to be manipulated. It will stop working eventually, very likely, right? So you don't want to over rely on that, on a weakness that is a shortcut that is very myopic to do. It's better to invest on something that you know that will be profitable, will be beneficial for you as a brand, even if AI search didn't exist, right? You will invest in community and in Reddit because actually your customers are there and you want to influence them in a good, honest way, and to hear their thoughts and to get their feedback and to interact with them in there independently if they don't refer AI engagement, right? And just because of its own platform and media, right, and on purpose. So this is how we need to think about it, I believe. Otherwise, we can end up like harming SEO initiative or social initiative, or no. We need to think on a strategical, bigger way in order to make it cost effective in the long run.
Yeah. And so another question, but also something else that you had talked about, obviously, yes, we know search is getting more conversational, and it can, right? Because we're getting better results when we search more conversationally, things like that. So having content, I think you said like moving from keywords to topical authority. So building content around those more conversational searches is really, really powerful. Something obviously we super believe at Optiversal, of course. But the question we have as a follow-up to that, because you've talked a lot about like kind of KPIs and tracking and things like that. The question was, Google has finally given us AI visibility reporting in Search Console. What should we be paying attention to? What do you think is working?
Yes. So funnily enough, the metrics that they have announced, so particularly the release of this Gen AI new performance report is in test still today. So they have just released it for a subset of users. Unfortunately, I have access to hundreds of properties in Google Search Console, and none of them, unfortunately, yet has gotten it. So yeah, there's that. But from what I have seen, the metrics that they provide are not necessarily that they don't have prompt level, for example, information in there. They don't have clicks data, topical data. The player, the platform that is providing that data right now already is Bing. So go ahead. Recommendation number one, if you want to get good data for free, go and register for Bing Webmaster Tools because they do provide this Gen AI report that is good, that is more insightful, that provides prompt data, that provide the clicks and the cited pages. And if you are not using Clarity from Microsoft, they also have an AI bots tracker. Interesting, because I was talking a few days ago with Chris Green, who's a great SEO consultant as well, a friend of mine, and he was talking about the potential correlation of course, seeing more AI bots accessing your pages that end up getting cited more, which makes complete sense too. So it's a good also a metric to keep an eye on, to understand the evolution of the accessibility of your content and what type of content they like the most to come and grab information from your site. And usually it's very tricky to get access to your log files, web server, CDN, whatever in your organization. And with Clarity, it's a matter of just installing a little script on your side and easy to set information. And then finally, they have just released this new AI topic recommendation report, like literally 2 days ago. And then they close a gap of just giving you the citations or the visibility report to a more actionable recommendation dashboard saying, if you actually want to care about these particular topics and these are the prompts that you want to be shown, this is how you're shown, this is how your compares are shown, and this is the gap. And they automate a little bit. And of course, we need to take this with a grain of salt at the end of the day. Everything that is completely automated, we need to validate and to ensure that it's accurate for our own context. But they already try to give actionable advice of where the gap is coming, for what are top characteristics of the topics are getting more citations for this particular topic that you want to be shown or to increase your visibility for. And this is great. So go and take a look at Bing Webmaster Tool, because at least right now it's a much more useful resource from like, and the only weakness is that that is coming from Copilot and the Microsoft AI related ecosystem. So again, it's not fully representative of what there is out there, but it's better than nothing, right? And can be directionally helpful to better understand how people are searching with actual first party data. That is what we have been, very eager and need to access.
I'll have to take a look now. I'm gonna geek out a little bit because I'm like a numbers girl, and we have, like the prompt, like you're saying, AI visibility dashboards like within Optiverse that do a lot of the prompts, or we have Best Buy as a customer, and it'll go through all the brands that Best Buy has and tell, Best Buy, how does AI feel about the brand of Canon versus Dell versus Apple, and same thing. Like, I think something we hear a lot is for citations on pages, we can actually track within our tool what Pages AI is using to do their research to make a recommendation. Now, whether it uses that to recommend your products or not is separate. I think as people are getting confused, it's one thing to know what AI is crawling to potentially recommend something versus what they actually recommend. And like you said, the AI referred traffic is a whole nother step of that. And so it's like very different.
100%. And it makes complete sense. I mean, if citations are coming from across all of the different type of pages on your site, where you actually provide answers to potential questions that users will ask, right, about your product, then of course they will refer at the very last step to the user, because they want to engage, they want to be able to fulfill their need within their own ecosystem and platform, right? So you cannot take AI referrals or AI traffic, or where the traffic end up landing, as the full measure of it all. Because it doesn't make sense. It's only the last step, indeed.
Yes, exactly. Amazing. I think we had one more question, or maybe two, if that's, we have two more questions then. One, I'm trying to read this myself. So do AI search engines reward comprehensive content systems more than perfectly optimized individual pages? And
yes, I will say yes. And you can see this in a lot of e-commerce that have support pages that many, unfortunately, are not even as well optimized. They live in a subdomain, which, by the way, is a pet peeve. Like, you can imagine me as an SEO is like, why? And not only in e-commerce, by the way, a lot of in SaaS, this happens a lot, right? This, I will name names, but there are some platforms that just docs whatever, and the support plus, and these are forums or support systems that have threads that are not even that well optimized structurally, semantically. The taxonomy is a mess many times, etc. They don't also connect or refer well with the navigation system of the main site as well, which, by the way, is not great for referrals or the conversion journey either. So there are challenges with that. However, as long as the content is easily extractable, is in the raw HTML, is in the easy to extract format that loads really fast, AI system should be able to gather it. And a lot of the citations might come from that if you have a very strong help center. And this, I have seen this across many e-commerce. I have seen this across many SaaS websites as well. And it shows, it's just proof that rather than obsessing having like the perfectly optimized page, you need to start from the bottom, from the pillars. Like, is this extractable? Is this easy to crawl and to index? Is it fast? And the base of it, 100%. A lot of e-commerce also, and websites in general and brands, they were obsessed, like they didn't care as much because of how it worked in traditional SEO, like in the long tail, right? They focus on head terms that supposedly gave a lot of value and will bring a lot of the traffic. Yes, much harder to rank, but if you did a good enough job with the ideally optimized page, category page, very likely, or brand page and so on, or facet, it will happen, right? The reality is that nowadays it's not so easy because of what we have been talking about, how the SERPs, traditional SERPs, are referring less traffic on one hand, and then on the other hand, the AI systems will end up indeed grabbing a lot of the information independently of where it lives in the page, right? If it is an FAQ that lives in a PDP or a POP, it doesn't matter, as long as it is well structured, it is there. It talks about the real pains and the challenges and the questions that the users have through the customer journey, the real challenges, the constraints that they go through, and you need to answer them. And if you search for a lot of this, the search volume in keyword tools will not be huge, right? These are not head terms. These are pains that are related to products, and they are very spread out in many occasions. They are not very core ones, right? So it will be very reliant on the product as well. So the search volume won't be high. So if you only allow yourself to be driven still today by pure search volume, it's not great. You need to think about, and that is why also having a real customer understanding is critical for the different personas or audiences that you're targeting. What are the real pains? What are the real issues? What issues you are solving with your product? What is your unique selling proposition as well? I have a brand client that is a premium brand, and some AI trackers, they say, oh, you have a negative sentiment for half of your of the answers in AI platform. When I go and take a look at them, it's like these were false positive, because in reality the answer say that they were not cheap, that they were a premium. That's like, and that is okay. It's part of what they are as a brand. What is important is that they disclose it very clearly across all of the product details, the FAQs, etc., and the way that they word it, rather than, oh, we are expensive. No, we are premium, right? And connects with the way that how they want to be perceived as a brand. Indeed.
Exactly. I think, like you're saying, this holistic thing. So any quick fix, I mean, in some cases, like we thought FAQs was a quick fix to some of this visibility. And to your point, it's like, what is it actually, what are you actually saying, or why are you doing it? And then how are you scaling that across different pages and products?
Yeah. Funnily enough, a lot of people started to do many more FAQs in SEO as a one-trick pony, again, tactical thing, because of the visibility in search results back in the day. But it totally makes sense from a customer journey conversion standpoint, because it should be able to clarify the main doubts in your sales copy, right? It convert better your product at that stage of the journey. The thing is, well, to actually address the real pains of the user at that stage of the journey, rather than generic information that doesn't necessarily have to do with the real issues and problems that your customers have. Indeed.
Right. Exactly. Last question we have, and this is even more forward-looking, I think, but interesting to consider. I think my gut is going to tell me that the foundational things still apply here. But the question is, as AI shopping assistants become more conversational, I'm assuming that's like Google, like shopping agents that shop autonomously. It says, what characteristics separate the retailers that consistently get recommended from those that don't for autonomous shopping agents?
Yes, I will say, on one hand, the ones that actually address with their copy and information the real pains of the users, rather than generic copy, right? You are not the best for everything. That is not true. You have certain characteristic highlights that make you what you are and differentiate yourself from your competitors. Highlight those, right? So that is important on one hand. And then on the other hand, speaking of agentic, right? Users might wait for a slow website, for shifting navigations that don't load as they should, or take longer, or they are not consistent in the way that they are showcased, or buttons that are not easy to click. Agents, bots won, right? So rethinking this slide that I have with some honestly easy to go through checklists with your dev team to make sure that your templates are consistent and provide a certain base of good behavior towards bots, not only humans here, consistent behavior, because right now it's not an issue. In a few months, it might become one, right? So I will recommend you to get ready. And yes, from a conversational standpoint, I believe is thinking more about the real pains of the user and how you can solve them in a way that is easily extractable by bots that, as we can see, if we complain about Google lack of capacity to render JavaScript, it's non-existent with AI platforms, I'm afraid.
I Love it. Yeah, I think moral of the story here is doing what's good for humans is also good for AI. And I think we need to keep that strategy. And like you said, we're looking long term. Those short little quick fixes aren't going to support you as the brand grows, as you continue building, what you need to do for humans and continue making the shopping experience good and helpful and supportive for your customers. So I think that's really, really key here. So yeah, I think with that, that's all the questions we have. Aleyda, thank you so much for joining. I learned so much. I so appreciate it. And now I hope you can get a little bit of a vacation in after all your travels. So I'm excited for you for that.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. It was great to share. And well, hopefully, if you have any questions, any doubts later on, and as you mentioned, I'm very active in social, especially in LinkedIn. Happy to hear any thoughts, any questions, doubts over there. I will be sharing the deck as well, so you have it. And yes, hopefully it will be helpful for your e-com AI search opportunity and growth in the upcoming months.
Amazing. Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.